Students. So we are going to start a new topic, which is wine. As of now, we have completed the ongoing topic, which was wine, beer. So as we all know that we have purely completed the topic beer. We started with the introduction part, and then the types of beer, and the production of beer, and we finished this topic with service of beer. And now today we'll start the topic wine. Okay, so good afternoon to all of you. As we all are aware of the topics that we have covered as of now, the very first beginning we started with the alcoholic beverages. In this whole semester you will be studying the alcoholic beverages, right? Meanwhile, I'm opening up the PPTs. So what I was saying, that we started with our first topic, which was alcoholic beverages, and then followed by the first alcoholic beverage, which was beer. We have covered the beer with all subtopics. That we started with the introduction of beer, then we covered the types of beer, and then we covered the production of beer, brand names, and service of beer. So today we are going to start a new topic, which is wine. So can anyone tell me wine is produced, if I ask a question that wine is produced by dash? So can anyone fill?
The grapes.
Grapes. Very good. It was Nitish. Like Nitish, it was you who has answered.
Sami.
Sarandeep. Okay. Yes, you are right. So we'll start with a small introduction. So as Sarandeep said, that wine is something which is produced by grapes, right? And grapes are to be undergo the process, a special process, that we need to pick the grapes, then clean it, right? And then crush the grapes. We need to use the grape juice, add yeast, let it aside for the fermentation process. Then we will get wine. Right? Now the major point over here related to wine, if we are using, like there are two types of grapes we know. One type is black grape, another one is white grape, right? And there is another name of the white grape. Black grape is generally people used to call it red grape also. Red or black grape is the same thing. So if we are using red grape, then we will get, what can we say? We will get red wine. And if we are using white grapes, then we can produce white wines. So this is a simple phenomena or simple idea to get to know about the wine. So here is the first step in the introduction. So wine is an alcoholic beverage. It is produced by the natural fermentation of ripe, freshly gathered grapes. Then it is prepared from both black and white grapes. Yes, as I told you. And we will learn about the grapes components also, the parts of grapes. If we are using the skin of grapes, then what will happen, or which kind of wine would be there? Will it be like any difference in the taste if we are adding seeds also, right? So if we are not adding the skin, so which color would be there? So if we are using both the grapes, then which kind of color would be there? So these are the things that we'll be learning in this particular topic. And next part is the color, aroma, and flavor. Because base product is grapes, so the quality of grape is directly proportional to the color, aroma, flavor, and so on. If you are using a good quality of grape, then definitely you'll get a good quality of wine, right? So the quality of grape is directly proportional to the aroma, flavor, color, like this. So grapes are grown on the vines. Vines mean to say हिंदी में बेल लता इन इनको इंग्लिश में we used to call it vines, right? So don't get confused vine with W and vine with V, right? So grapes are grown on the vines. So again, the important parts related to vines mean to say जो बेल लता है, we will be learning about vines. So there are 5,000 variety of grapes, but what about the grapes that we are using for wine making? There are only 50 types of grapes. So we'll be learning in this particular topic that what all types of grapes can be used for wine making. Then pips, this is another name of seeds, right? I'm repeating, the word seed can be changed with the pips. So here we are talking about the seeds of grapes. So pips are used for the crossbreeding experiment. Mean to say, like generally we all know that if we want to grow grape, we any field we need seeds. So people are doing the or creating the hybrid, right, wines or grapes by doing crossbreeding. Next one is viticulture. As we have discussed in the last lecture, that viticulture means to say the harvesting or the growing of grape field. This process is called as viticulture. So viticulture is practiced both at north and south. Now the question would be, what all countries are there in the northern equator or southern equator? So I have written the countries on northern equator are France, Italy, Germany, USA, like this, and southerns are Chile, then Argentina, Australia, New Zealand. So mean to say, in simple words, grapes are grown in like mostly all of the countries, right? But the best quality of grapes and wines, as I told you, that comes from France, Italy, and these are the countries that produce most of the wines across world, right? They used to give a huge quantity of wine to the world. Next thing is again like some more important points related to wines. Like there are some dangers that are like we must be alert, or the production person must be aware of some dangers, like too much sun can dry the pulp. Pulp is the middle content of the grape, right? That particular content is known as pulp. So if there is too much sunlight or the heat is there in the atmosphere, then you'll not get a good pulp, or pulp will be dry. Dry mean to say there would be no sugar or less sugar. One thing that I want to tell you over here, the word dry in wine or in spirits, just remember this thing. The word dry mean to say less sugar, not the like exact meaning dry. Generally we know that dry or wet, right, mean to say something which is not wet. This is what we know about the meaning of dry. But in alcoholic beverages, the meaning of dry mean to say they contain less sugar or no sugar, right? Best example is the moment you sometimes what happens, the moment you eat grape and you feel the dry, like you feel dryness in your mouth. And the same thing used to happen with the guava juice also, right? And these are the items, the moment you eat and you feel dryness in your mouth because they contain less sugar. This is what happens actually, right? So similarly, the dry in related to alcoholic beverages, the word dry mean to say less sugar or no sugar. Next is too much rain can limit the crops. If there is too much rain, then the crops will be lesser than the previous time or the time when there is less rain. Next is frost can ruin the harvest. This is the same thing that we have studied in the last lecture, that if there is hailstorm, then what will happen? It will ruin the harvest or fields. And then some more dangers like fungus. Fungus can be there, and red spiders that affects the, or they used to eat the stems of the grapevines, moths, kind of butterfly, then bugs and mites. So these all dangers are present and they affect the vines. And if vines are not proper, naturally we will not get the good result. Our result is grapes. So if grapes are not of good quality, then what will happen? We will not get the good type of wine. Now, just vice versa to this particular slide, that if there is proper sunlight, I'm talking about a particular season. For an example, we are talking about last year's season, right? And last year's season, the field, the soil was correct as per, like the minerals were purely up to the mark, the sunlight was up to the mark, rain was as per the requirement, right? No hailstorm was there, no frost was there, right? No red spider, moths, big bugs and all. So that particular field, like I told you that there is an organization, they people will visit the field and they will check, yes, the field is absolutely correct or absolutely up to the mark. Then they will give a certificate of vintage, that this particular field is a vintage field. And now the wine that will be produced by that field or that grapes would be known as a vintage wine. And here would be written on the label that in 2020 it was a vintage year. So this wine is a vintage wine because it is certified by the particular government body. So next, white and black gray rots also, like mean to say grapes can be rotten by these colors. Next one, preventions. Now it is very important to get the preventions. So sulfur spray, it is easily available in the market. Sulfur spray. The another one is diphenyl trichlorothiene, right? So this one particular spray is required. Another one is Bordeaux mixture. So the word Bordeaux is the new word for you because it is a region in France, right? Bordeaux is a region in France. So there is a special mixture prepared by the like old persons or old production house in Bordeaux. They used to mix copper sulfates like lime and water. This is kind of a mixture that is available in market online, but like major thing is this is the thing that produced or invented by the people of Bordeaux, and Bordeaux is a region in France. So this is French word, and from now onwards, might be you'll get so many French words. So initially, do not focus on the pronunciation. Okay, just pay attention on the spellings, because the moment you will be writing down, you must know about the spelling. So do not focus on the pronunciation in starting. And I would suggest that just write down all those French words and keep on practicing through internet, that what is the right pronunciation of those particular words. And practice will make you perfect in pronouncing the French words. Okay, so as of now, this slide is over. Anything that you want to ask related to this? Yes, students. So wine is something that is produced by grapes, both the grapes, red and white. These are like this is the crux of these 4 and 5 slides or 7 slides. Wine produced by grapes, especially grape juice, and both the grapes can be used white and black grapes. So if we are using whole grape, then different type of wine will be produced. If we are using only pulp, then different type of wine would be produced. Generally, one important thing that we all must know that the color of any grape presents in the, I think I'm not audible. Am I audible, students? Am I audible, students? Can anyone acknowledge me if I'm audible? Yes, students.
Yes, sir. Pleasure.
There is some electricity issues. Maybe some internet fluctuation could be there. So I would request that kindly manage this thing. Okay, so what I was saying, the color usually presents in the skin of the grape. So if you will remove the skin of the grapes, then what will happen? Less color will be imparted to the wine. So if you will use the whole skin, then more color will be imparted to the wine. So what we have got over here, the color usually releases by the skin of the grapes. Anything that you want to ask over here? Otherwise, I'm going to open up the another slide or another PPT. Okay. I'm going to open the next subtopic. Okay, let's have a small glance about grape. That is what is grape and what type of thing usually in the grapes. I'm going to share the screen. Okay, again, this one is quite important topic, like grapes. So this is the structure of a grape, right? And the purple part is the skin, which contains pigment. Pigment mean to say generally every colored vegetable or fruit they contains pigments that releases the color. Tannin is something that gives the bitter taste, and the middle part is known as pulp that contains juice and no pigment. Just see the difference that uh, the word that I was saying, the statement I was given, the color usually released by the skin, not the pulp. So if there is no skill, then there could be the chances of less color or lesser color in the wine. Okay. So if you are using skin, the whole grape, mean to say that you will get a dark color or the color that contains that grape contains. Now the seed, again, seed also contains tannins. Tannins, something that gives a bitter taste. So now the person who used to drink wine or those who have like those who had tasted the wine, the tannin or the bitter taste comes from the seeds and skin, right? Color usually got by the skin, and alcoholic content usually converted by yeast as it reacted on the sugar. So this is the structure of a grape. So it is very important. Generally, it comes in the question. In question, and it is an important question, right? And next thing is, am I audible, students?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. So moving to the another slide. So grape has four things: stem, skin, seed, and pulp, right? So the moment like anyone like who is harvesting the grapes, they'll get the grape with these four things. Some amount of stem would be attached with the grape, skin would be there, seed would be there, and the pulp. Next thing, now related to stem, and you must know this thing that people use the whole thing along with the stem and stalk, right? But there is a process in at that time they remove the stem and stalk. So stem, what is like if we know, or if we talk about stem, what is it? Stem or stalk holds the grape in bunches. This is like quite familiar to everyone, and it contains tannin, mineral acid, and cellulose. So tannin mineral over there, like it means some of the bitter taste comes from the stem, and it is mostly used in the making of big flavorsome red wine. So generally, any production house that produce red wine, they crush the grape along with the stems, right? Because they know that once they'll be crushing the grapes, stems or the tannin will also be released by the stems, and after that they will filter all the leftover material or unwanted material, and they'll get the cleared wine. So red wine generally it contains grape with stem and not used for making white wines or light wines. So same thing, vice versa. The production house that producing white wines, they do not use stems, right? Using mean to say the first process is harvesting and another process is crushing the grapes. If you are producing red wines, then you will crush the grapes as it is. If they are attached with stem, just crush them and keep the liquid. That particular liquid is called as must, right? MUST. So that must will contain stem, skin, seed, pulp, and juice also. So they add yeast into it and start fermentation, or they keep the whole liquid for the fermentation process. And once the fermentation will be over, they strain the material and they'll get the wine, and they will get red wine. So if they are producing white wines, so in very starting, they are required to remove the stalk or stem first. They are required to peel the skin also, because as we know that color will be released by the skin, and we are going to produce white wine, then there is no need to add skin. So remove the skin, just use pulp and seeds, and you'll get white wine. Moving further, so tannin is necessary ingredient as it acts as a preservative and antioxidant. So tannin is something which act as a preservative, which improves the shelf life of wine. And this is also very important part that we all must know, that alcohol is like alcohol itself is a preservative. That if you put anything into the alcohol, that increase the shelf life of the particular thing. That alcohol cannot be, we can say that pale very soon, right? Because it has the preservative features, we can say that. So astringency flavor of the wine is due to astringency, mean to say the acidic flavor kind of, or some tickling flavor. The moment a person used to sip it, like they'll give a tanginous flavor. Their flavor comes from the tannins, and tannin comes from the skin and seed and stem. Now we are going to talk about skin. Skin, it contains tannin, pigment, flavoring material, and cellulose, right? So the same thing. Addition, only the single addition is pigment. The skin contains by the coloring pigment, right? So anthocyanin, that contributes color to the wine. So this is the scientific thing that is there in the skin, which gives color to the wine. The waxy substance on the outer part. Yes, if you pay close attention to the grape, there is a white texture or white layer on what do you say, on a grape. That white layer is called as wild yeast or natural yeast. The moment you purchase grape from the market, there is a white layer that is so easily get removed by washing it, right? So that white layer is known as wild yeast or natural yeast. So to produce wine, the specific yeast that is required is known as Saccharomyces ellipsoides. Some people, or another word or another pronunciation is Saccharomyces ellipsoides, which contribute to the fermentation process. And with the help of natural yeast, the fermentation takes place little soon. Like if you will wash the grape and you will remove the wild yeast, then you need to add the artificial or the laboratory yeast little more than the previous one. So next thing, pulp. So pulp is a soft flesh behind the skin of the grape. So if you will remove the skin, the content or the part that you'll see, that particular part is known as pulp. And it provides the juice, also known as must. As I told you, the moment you crush the grapes, the liquidy texture would be known as must. If you buy bunches of grapes, you crush the grapes, now that particular material would be known as must, which is essential for the fermentation. And the must that contains 78 to 80% of water, 10 to 25% of sugar, and 5 to 6% of acids. The acid present in the must are, so these are the acids that used to that are present in the must, right? Tartaric, malic, tannic, citrus acids, right? So acids, we all know that acids like we used to consider the acids if the pH value is less than the 7. So the acids help to preserve wine and keep it fresh and relevant. Now the seeds. So seeds also contain tannins, bitter oils. And if we crush the pips, and then what we will get flavors. We will get flavor to the wine. That flavor could be bitter flavor. And any grape that is ripened, the acid level decreases, sugar content could be increases in it. So if we are using grapes in a full ripe condition, then you'll get the full sugar content and less acidic content. So if you are using less ripened berry or grape, then it would be vice versa. You'll get less sugar and more acidic. Flavor and color also get developed. Yes. So seeds are also they have some part to provide color and flavor. So there are some white grapes that I have prepared for you, that I have written for you. You are required to learn them. These names should be on your fingertips, because this is the important thing that we all hotelier or hotel management persons must know. That name 5 white grapes, then it should be on your fingertips. Chardonnay, the pronunciation is Chardonnay, Chenin Blanc, right? Colombard, Fouet Blanc. This one is Westermanier, right? Muller, Muscat, Palomino, Pinot Blanc, Riesling, Saint Emilion, Sauvignon Blanc, Sarchiel, Trebbiano, Viognier, right? So these are the white grapes, and here are some red or black grapes: Cabernet Franc, Cabernet Sauvignon, Cinsault, Gamay, Grenache, Malbec, Merlot, Nebbiolo, Pinot Noir, Syrah, Zinfandel, Pinot Meunier, right? So whenever you'll find some time, write down all these contents. I'll share the PPT in Google Classroom, and your duty will be started. You are required to write down all those content that we are sending you, we are sharing you in the Google Classroom. And you are required to prepare your journals. I hope you all are preparing the journals. As I told you that after every week we'll check your journals. Answer me.
Preparing notes.
You are preparing your notes.
Yes, sir.
Okay, Pushpreet Kaur, just unmute yourself. Pushpreet Kaur.
Of their features, their specification, on the basis of their traits.
Great. You're right, Saif Raja. Classification is something that we are going to categorize the particular thing. Now we are talking about wine. So classification of wine mean to say to understand the wine properly, we categorized the wine, right? So for an example, if we have a class of 60 students, we categorize into girls and boys. So just to understand, to reduce the number, and if once the number will be reduced, then it will be quite easier to understand or to distribute, to do anything. So similarly, so to understand wines properly, we are required to classify it. So classification can be done on the basis of color, right? So one category is we have classified the wine on the basis of color. That one color could be red, white. This is what we have like we know as of now. So second classification can be on the basis of taste, some dry taste, right? Some sweet taste, like this. And the third classification can be based on content, that which type of content it contains. The mean to say aroma based, right? Or any other spirit. If any spirit is there in the wine, then the alcoholic content would be different. What name would be given to the wine, right? So these are the three classifications, or the three bases we use to classify the wine: one, color, taste, and content. So one by one we will be learning. So we are going to start with color. So with color or under the color, what all types of wine? Red wine that used to be produced by red or black grapes. The another wine could be rose wine. Red wine mean to say all black grapes. So rose wine, if we are going to produce rose wine, then we are required to mix both the grapes. Then what we will get? We'll get rose wine. And blush, small, like we used to, as I told you, the color is released by the skin of the grapes, right? So if we add skin, then we'll get the color. So for an example, if we are going to produce red wine, then it is required to soak the color or to soak the skin for 7 days. For an example, I'm just giving you an example that to get a red wine, we are required to steep the skin for 7 days. So if we are producing blush wine, then we will keep the skin just for 3 days and then we will remove. So little amount of color, once the color is there, little amount of color is there in the content, then we will remove the skin. Then we will get the blush wine. Got my point? And the next is white wine. So it is so simple. White wine is something that is produced by the white grapes, no skin. Correct? Now the next part is according to the taste. So how can we differentiate or how can we categorize the wine on the basis of taste? Dry wine. So dry, I told you that if we are studying alcoholic beverages, and the word dry mean to say less sweet or no sweet, right? So the moment anyone sip the dry wine, the mouth will be like the person will feel dryness in the mouth. Second is sweet wine. As the name suggests, it would be sweet. It gives the sweet taste. And another one is medium dry. Medium dry mean to say no dry or not more sweet. And then the last one is according to the content. The first one is still wine. So under the still wine, like mean to say red wine and white wine, rose wine, these are the wines that comes under the still wine category. Nothing addition, only like simple taste or the standard taste of grapes. Nothing like no addition in any still, like in any wine, that particular wines are called as still wine. Or the another name of still wine is table wine also, right? Still wine, table wine, mean to say no other flavor, aroma and all, nothing is added into it. Next one is sparkling wine. Those wines that contain CO2, which is carbon dioxide. They infused the carbon dioxide with some methods. They produce the wine as the like by following the same process: harvesting, crushing, adding yeast, fermentation, then maturation. Right now, wine is ready. So they infused carbon dioxide. Then it will become sparkling wine. So fortified wine, this is very important wine that we must know. Fortified wine is something, the process would be same. To produce any wine, the process would be same. Harvesting of grapes, crushing of grapes, right? Then fermentation process, maturation process, your wine would be ready. But if you add in the same wine, if you add CO2, then it will become sparkling wine. Like earlier, it will be a still wine. A simple wine could be, or it would be called as still wine. If you will add CO2 in the still wine, then it will become sparkling wine. If you will add brandy, which is spirit, right? If you will add brandy in still wine, then it will become fortified wine. I'm repeating, if anyone is producing wine by following the standard method, then that person will get still wine or table wine. No flavor, no additional flavor or anything. And if we add CO2 in still wine, we will get sparkling wine, or we converted the still wine into sparkling wine. And if we add brandy into the still wine, then it will become fortified wine. Now, the important point related to fortified wine is it has more alcoholic content than the other wines. The reason is the still wine, when once the like it was just a still wine, it may contain the alcoholic content percentage, mean to say 7 to 14%, right? So once it is on the stage of still wine, it contains up to 14% of alcohol. The moment you add, you have added brandy into it, so the content, the alcoholic content of brandy will also be addition to this still wine. So this is the reason, that's why the fortified wine contains the highest or the more alcoholic content than the other, right? So the next one is aromatized wine. So aromatized wine, as the name suggests, this a wine, still wine, and we have added something that gives aroma. Generally, vermouth, there is a warm wood, a herb which is known as warm wood. People used to add warm wood into the still wine and then steep it for some time. Then your still wine will be converted into aromatized wine. Right? It will start giving aroma of the warm wood, which is good for health, especially stomach. Right? And these are the 4 types of wine, important wines. So I'm repeating, to classify the wines, there are 3 headings. One is, the first one is, just name them. The first classification is
color,
through color, yes. The second is through
Taste.
taste, and the third one is content. Content means to say what is there in the wine. If you add one thing into wine, then the wine would be changed and the name would be different. So there are 3 headings by which we can divide our wine. We have categorized. So color, if we talk about color, there are 4 colors: red, rose, blush, and white. There are 4 colors. And if we talk about taste, there are 3 types: dry, medium dry, and sweet. If we talk about content, there are 4 types of wine: still wine, the another name of still wine is table wine, and then sparkling wine. So generally, any production house that produce wine, they produce still wine first. By default, still wine will be produced in the starting. If we are going to change, or we are going to, or we want to produce something else, the first step is still wine. Then we are required to add some CO2. Then it will become sparkling wine. If we add brandy in the still wine, then it will become fortified. If we add any aroma, then it will become aromatized wine. Right? So this is done. And we will be moving towards the another slide. Anything that you want to ask right now, you may ask, as I'm going to open the another slide, which is wine faults. So what are the things by which wine can be defected, right? Wine faults. This one, like we have already done in the previous class. Is it visible? Okay. This is the content that we have already done. Just be quick, like we'll have a quick revision on it. That these are the contents, or these are the things that affects the quality of wine. Climate is one thing. If it would be a good like uh, up to the mark, or the climate would be up to the mark, then we'll get a good quality of wine, right? And then latitude also, this is also the thing that we have done. Viticulture, if anyone has done or grown the grapes properly, right? The correct time of plowing, the correct time of pruning, feeding, spraying, and all, then you will get a good quality of grape. And naturally, we all know that grapes are directly proportional to the quality of wines. Then vinification, like production process, then market demand. Now the care of wine. So as we have done this thing, the care, racking mean to say how we are placing the wine. So wine is repeatedly racked. It allowed to settle and drawn the drawn into fresh cask. The least residue gets separated. So wine, like related to wine, like we all are aware of that the maturation process of wine is more than anything. Like if we talk about spirits are something that get matured for lesser time, but wines get matured for more time. So racking is something that we are required to place the wine bottles in a way. Generally, you will not find a wine bottle keeping like in a standing position. Generally, wine bottles used to be placed in a horizontal way, right? The reason behind the residues, because most of the chances to have the residue present in the red wine, because we know that if we are producing red wine, then the production process, there is no need to separate stock, mean to say stem and anything, right? So then there are more chances that residue mean to say unwanted particles can be present in the wine. And next thing related to it, in white wine, as we all know that we have not used stems or stalks, then there are lesser chances that residue, mean to say unwanted material, could be there in the wine. So next thing is care of the wine. Finding means to say to clean or to clear the wine. So even after racking, the wine is not completely clear. By placing the wine in a horizontal position, it will not give you like full 100% assurance that your wine is clear, right? What will happen? The fine particles are removed by using fining agent like icing glass. The same we have done in the beer. Any material that contain protein, we are required to add into the wine, and that particles, unwanted particles, will get attracted to that particular thing, icing glass, and then we will remove it. Next is aging. Aging is also required to get or to prepare a good wine. So if anyone will start bottling the wine just immediate after the fermentation process, then it will not give a good taste, right? So maturation, mean to say aging is required. So the wine is matured further to bring into its prime nature, and different wines need different aging periods, 6 months to 5 years to 10 years and more. As I told you that wine, aging of wine, if you have put the wine into the cask today, in mean to say in 2021, maybe you will get or you will sell that particular wine in 2031 after 10 years. If you are now you are at the age of 18 or mean to say 20, when once you'll be at the age of 30, then only you then you will start thinking of bottling the wine, and then you'll say it. So this is the required, because people
Excuse me,
think,
sir. Excuse me, sir.
yes, yes, yes.
Sir, repeat again, sir. Repeat again, please.
Okay. What I'm saying, that if anyone, any production house will start bottling the wine immediately after the fermentation process, right? Fermentation process means to say the moment you will get the wine and you started bottling the wine immediately after the fermentation process, then it will not give a good taste. To give a mellow taste, and sometime it is required to blend previous wines and the this year wines. Like, let me make it simple. It means that a person is not putting 100% efforts in the care of wine, right? So aging is very important. So simple process to produce wine is get the grapes, crush it. Once the juice is there in the container with the pulp, seed, skin, everything is there in the container, add yeast, keep it aside for the fermentation process for 17 or 20 days. And once the fermentation will be there, the sign of fermentation going place is the bubbles will be there on the top of the content. So then we are required to remove that layer so that air contact would be in a continuous process. And then once the fermentation will be over, we are required to strain that content. That particular content is called as wine now. Now your wine is ready. So the leftover material will be sent for the production of a special thing which is known as brandy. But which quality? Low quality of brandy. That brandy is known as pomace brandy. I'm repeating, the content from which we have fully extracted the wine, the leftover material will be sent to the spirit production house, especially brandy, because brandy is something that produced through grapes. So the grapes that
Sir, you are not visible.
I am not, I'm not audible.
No, sir.
Okay. I think my connection is okay. Maybe like some fluctuations due to some fluctuation, it happens. Okay, so what I was saying, that the leftover material is required to send to the spirit production house, and they produce pomace brandy, a lower quality of brandy, because most of the content has already been extracted from the grapes. The grapes are left over. So good quality of brandy is directly produced by the, I mean to say, a good quality of grapes. Now, so aging has been done. Next is bottling. A special care is required during the bottling process. Most wines improves in the bottle. Very good line is here. Generally, like we have matured the wine in the big casks for 10 years, for 15 years, right? For last 15 years, our wine is there in a big container. Now they are ready to shift into the bottles. So now, major point is the moment we have added into the bottles, it will again kept for longer time so that wine can get married together. Shorter for white wines and longer for red wines. So aging will be done for 2 times in big containers and in the bottling also, after bottling or in the bottles. Then corking mean to say to close the bottle, right? So cork is a very important part. If you will not put a proper cork on the bottle, then what will happen? It will get contacted by air and your wine will convert it into vinegar. This is very important point. If anyone who left the wine opened, right, and it will become, after some time, it will become a vinegar. right? It will like the actual taste, actual content of wine will be spoiled. So it is very important while we are corking, we are putting corks. Okay. Next one is faults. Now we are going to talk about the faults in wine. So after finishing the faults in wine, I'll be launching the polls and then we'll close the class and we'll meet on Monday. And as I've said, and I've told you that I will be checking your journals on Monday, right? The content that I have been shared till date, you are required to open it. Okay. Corked wine, faults in wine. Sometimes what happens, like some of the like cork generally what happens get broken and it gets foul smell, right? It gets broken and it falls down into the wine and then the wine start giving a foul smell, right? So this one is the first fault that can be happened in wine. So the wine is affected by a diseased cork through bacterial action. Sometimes cork get bacteria or get like a bacteria into it, and the same due to bacteria the wine will start giving a bad smell and taste. The term should not be confused with the cork residue, which is bites of cork that splinter into the wine and on opening. So there are 2 points, the 2 important points in this single point. Corked wine mean to say the first point, the moment anyone who is opening up the cork, there is a special opener and technique is required to open up a wine cork. And what happens, some like a mature, mean to say a mature person who is opening up a cork bottle and the cork is being broken and some amount has been fallen into the wine, that will give that will spoil the taste, 1 point. And second is sometimes cork get infected or some disease or some residues are like attack the cork, and then the cork start getting spoiled, and the same due to spoiling of the cork, the foul or bad smell get infused into the wine. So these are the first fault and 2 sub points of this particular fault. And the next one is acidification, mean to say, as I told you, the moment wine get contacted with the air, it will become vinegar, right? So that process is called as acidification. We are required to cover the wine bottle properly, right, to stop the air contact. Weeping. Weeping mean to say this like a sipping of the wine, mean to say from the cork, can be caused by small or faulty cork or when a secondary fermentation pushes the cork loose. The important point is secondary fermentation mean to the first fermentation is in a big container and secondary fermentation used to be happened in the bottle itself. And sometime what happens, during fermentation we all know that CO2 gets produced, right, released by the chemical reaction. So it start pushing the cork and the cork get loose. And again, what will happen if cork will be loose and then air, the chances of air can contacted with the wine, and then what will happen, we will spoil, like we'll get a spoiled wine, right? Next one is cloudiness. Yes, this is also another fault that is present in the wine. This may be caused by the extreme in storage temperature. If there is a variation in temperature, excess protein in contact with the metal or bacterial action. So during maturation process, if wine is in contact with any metal or any bacterial fungus, then this could be the problem or fault can be seen in the wine, right? And what will happen, the wine will become little cloudy, right? So these are some another faults, and we will cover like excess sulfur dioxide during the process of fermentation. sulfur is added to deactive the wild yeast. Now, this is an important point that we must know. Sometimes what happens, we are required to stop the fermentation, and in this process, we used to add sulfur dioxide, right? And sulfur dioxide, if excess of sulfur dioxide is there in the wine, then it will start giving a bad taste, a foul smell, right? Next is, it is also a preservative and keeps the wine healthy, right? So that, but the excess is bad. Next one is leaving the wine open for a few minutes. It will give the unpleasant smell. Secondary fermentation. So during secondary fermentation, what can happen? So this may happen when the wine is not fined properly. Traces of sugar and yeast may remain in the bottle. Okay. Sometimes what happens? We have not cleaned the wine properly, and some residues are there in the bottle. And then what will happen? They will start reacting to the wine, and everything will be spoiled, right? Then, which is an unwanted present fermentation. So maderization, this is caused by bad storage, too much exposure to air, often because the cork. Okay, yeah. So this is again similar to the acidification. Mean to say, we have not stored the wine during the maturation process or aging process, that we have not stored the wine properly, and exposure to air was there, and then what happened? It will become vinegar, or the cork will be dry. So it is very important that cork must not be dry, because if it will become dry, then it will get loose, and then there are chances that the air can come in, or the cork will fall down into the bottle. So the wine must also have been stored in too warm condition. Like, mean to say, the wine has stored in warm condition. So this one fault can be occurred by this reason. So faults are done. Like, we are done with the faults. Now what we will do, our next topic would be, let me check, our next topic would be, now we will start one of the wine, which is champagne. We will learn what is champagne. If there is any history related to champagne, we will do that one also. Then we will do the production of champagne, right? So in next lecture, your duty is, you will start like, I'll pick, let me give some names. Okay, I'll pick one or two students, and those students would require to start with the introduction of champagne. Julie Kumari, just unmute yourself. We will start from you. Julie Kumari.
Yes, sir. Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon, Julie Kumari. On Monday, we have our lecture. So we will start from you. You would be coming up with the introduction of champagne, right? We'll start from you. You have enough time to find out what is champagne, and you will be giving, or you will be directing us, or telling us what is champagne, a small introduction related to champagne, what all types of champagnes are present in the market, right? I would appreciate that if you will prepare a PPT, and you can share PPT on Sunday, and I'll open, or I'll share your PPT from my side. Akshay, are you present? Julie, is it okay? I don't want any other reason that you will
No, sir.
not be able to do because so and so reason. I appreciate that, and I believe that you can do this thing. Right? Okay, Badal Sharma.
Good afternoon, sir.
Yes, Badal Sharma, You would be the second person. You are required to prepare a PPT on red wine. Anything that you will get about red wine, just prepare a PPT and we'll open that PPT in the class.
Okay, sir.
You are required to send me the PPT on Sunday before 5 p.m.
Yes, sir.
Right?
Right.
So I'll open your PPT on Monday. Saf Raja.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, Saf Raja, your turn is that you are required to prepare PPT on white wine. Anything whatsoever like you'll be getting, you'll be preparing or like you'll be getting from internet or
Sir, how
any book.
many slides are required here?
No foundation, like you may prepare 100 slides also. No foundation. Major thing is, okay, Saf, major thing is, like you must be satisfied with the content. Like, okay, I have got like sufficient content and I can put into the PPT. So I would not bound you with the number of PPT slides.
Yes, sir.
Major thing is the content should be clear. Sufficient content should be there.
Okay.
And next person, Sukham.
Yes, sir.
Okay, Sukham, you are required to prepare a PPT on fortified wines.
Okay, sir.
Whatsoever content you'll be getting, just prepare it. I will not say that you'll be judging through these PPT. This is just a like kind of support or like by this way you'll be improving your PPT skills and I'll tell you how to present the PPT. Okay, so now I'm going to open up the I'm going to launch the poll, right? So be quick on this thing. Ashpreet, are you present? Students, start answering the questions that are on your screen. Ashpreet, are you present? No. And Ashdeep Singh? No one has started the answers yet. Okay, Harmanjot Singh, just take a screenshot and forward it to me once the class will be over. Harmanjot. Am I audible, Harman? Okay, Akshay Kumar.
Yes, sir.
Just take a screenshot and forward it to me once the class will be over. Screenshot of the participants, right?
Okay, sir.
Thank you. Okay, as of now, only 4 students have filled it. I'll open, like I'll keep the poll open just for 1 or 2 minutes. Pips are also known as this very simple thing, and we have already done this thing in the second slide. Sparkling wine is known as that contains sulfur. That is wrong answer. White layer on the grape is known as artificially snow. This is again. Chardonnay is Okay, polling is something which gives the correct, like I would say, correct review that you are paying attention in the class. Because Chardonnay, the Pinot Noir, we have just done 3 or 4 slides back. We have 5 students, still 5 students are left. Students, you are required to be quick. Okay, I'm going to close the poll just after 30 seconds. Be quick, only 4 students are left. Students, you have to be quick. Okay, so here are your results. You can see on your screen. The first one is pips are also known as seeds, not soil. Like choices are purely opposite to each other, and still you have given a wrong answer. Then dry wine is once the whole sugar is consumed by yeast, as we all know that the food of yeast is sugar. So sparkling wine contains CO2, carbon dioxide. I was keep on putting pressure on this thing that if we add CO2 in the still wine, then we'll get sparkling wine. Still, you are like answering sulfur. This is not a good thing. Then white layer on the grape is known as natural yeast. And Chardonnay is white grape and Pinot Noir is red grape. So thank you so much, students. And remember that you are required to prepare your journals, update your journals by the notes that I have sent. And students that I have picked, one is Badal Sharma, Julie Sukham, and Akshay. Akshay, is it you?
No, sir.
Saf Raja.
Yes, sir.
All right. So, okay, be prepared with the PPT and try to send it to me by 5 p.m. Sunday, right?
Excuse me, sir.
Yes.
Please send to the PPT on the Google Classroom.
Yes, what are you asking, Saf Raja?
Sir, please send to the PPT on the Google Classroom.
Yeah, definitely. I'll provide you.
Okay.
Thank you so much. I'm leaving the class.
Thank you, sir.